So hi there, I'm Diane Callahan, developmental editor and quotidian writer. I'm here with Hero Bowen, the amazing co-writer of Wish Hunter, an urban fantasy novel set in Savannah, Georgia. And so we're both big readers and researchers, and know you did a lot of research into Savannah to write the book. And I also asked you to read the most famous book that's set in Savannah, which is Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil by John Berendt, which is published in 1994. And it's a nonfiction book that focuses on the most famous murder that happened in Savannah. And it was a New York Times bestseller for like over 200 weeks. And it was adapted into a movie with Clint Eastwood. So directing, right? And then
directing.
Yeah. So then that was like a huge book of the era. And it's just, and in Savannah still, like when I went to visit there, like it's in all the gift shops and everywhere. And it's very influential and probably contributed to like their tourism boom back in the day. But so we both read the book and watched the movie.
Yeah.
But yeah, and it's been a while since.
Yeah, same for me.
Yeah, probably a year ago when we started on the project that we were reading it. But so how would you describe the story to somebody who's not familiar with it?
Sort of, domestic thrillery, but then it stops being a thriller. Is it about 2/3 in? No, yeah, maybe. And I don't know what you would call the rest. Like, it's such a unique book in that it doesn't even feel like it's nonfiction, because I wasn't sure.
Yes.
If it was until I read the blurb at the back, it's like, oh, it's nonfiction, but it's not written like your average nonfiction book.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like I heard it called like a nonfiction novel, like in Cold Blood by. But that's also considered a nonfiction novel where there's sort of some creative liberties taken. Because I think John Berendt said that he played with the chronology, like certain things happened like after he got there, and so he was just sort of playing with that. And so it has that kind of blend of fiction and nonfiction. I don't think it's meant to be like wholly objective, although he is very like he feels objective with how he presents people. He doesn't like comment on it too much. But it is kind of like little vignettes of different figures in Savannah, and I think it's interesting how it is divided like in a weird way. Like, okay, you don't really know what the whole thing's going to be about. Like the murder trial, the courtroom drama is like a really big part of it, but that's like not even, I don't know, is that like 40% of the novel, and then the rest is like everything.
It's just loads of other little tidbits thrown in. Bit of supernatural, a bit of such a unique book. Really good though. Really good.
So overall, you really enjoyed it?
I really liked the book. The book was amazing.
I know. I loved it too. And I think like, it's a book I wouldn't really recommend to people unless they have an interest in Savannah or in the South, because it's very niche. Like it's very specific. And I think that John Berendt, I read that his agent didn't really want to publish it because they're like, this is too niche. This is who's going to want to read this. And then, now the author's all smug, like, like it was a bestseller.
200 weeks.
Exactly. But it is very, it's like a very sensationalistic kind of like gossipy book, which I think is part of the fun of it, right? It's very drama driven.
It's nice to personalize all these different, like how this one thing has affected all the little things around it, like a sort of ripple effect of, or if it affects people at all, like some of the characters it's barely mentioned kind of thing.
Yes.
Which I just really like. I like that.
I do too. It feels very real, like very lived in kind of world. Yeah. And then, so why was the book better than the movie? Because I think that we both agree that the book was better than the movie, which is like kind of cliche to say, but it's not always the case for me. Like there's times when I'm like, oh yeah, I enjoy them separately, but in this case, they felt very different.
Oh, very different. And I like Clint Eastwood as a director. Like he's normally so good. It was just slow and ploddy, and I mean, I don't know what a Savannah accent. I mean, I do now, but upon watching it, I wasn't sure what a Savannah accent was supposed to sound like. and I'm still not convinced Kevin Spacey is doing one. So who knows about that? But I don't know, it just felt very stale and like devoid of all the emotion that weirdly is in the book, even though this person doesn't know these people necessarily.
Yeah.
It just felt very like, stale and sort of hollow in a lot of ways. It's like, well, I don't care about you the way I cared about you in the book.
I know, and I think that really speaks to how style, like writing style, can really contribute to that, and like the details that you can't just visually see in a movie. And I mean, I think that movies and books should definitely be allowed to be different creations. Like, like they can be totally different and they can still be equally good. But I think here, I think the problem was that the movie tried to be too faithful to the book. And then instead of like separating from it, and then so it didn't really get its own uniqueness or like that. Yeah, it didn't hit its own emotional core. Like it was trying so hard to replicate the book, but you know, it's such a different medium. I think it just didn't translate well.
It was good for like scenery purposes and for like really getting a feel for Savannah itself. I would say that's pretty much it.
That's the big thing. Yeah, because it is weird that like with the book, I'm like, I love the stitched together feel of it and all that, but then in the movie it does make it feel like super unfocused and like slow, and it is strange how it's like the same, it's really trying to do the same thing structurally, but then it just doesn't work in the other form. But what parts did you enjoy most about the book and the movie, and what favorite parts or scenes or characters?
The book, I loved anything with Lady Shabley in it. I thought she was just phenomenal in both, because when we so I was watching it and I was like, I wonder who they got to do this. Like, I wonder who that person is who's playing Lady Shabley. And then I looked it up, I was like, it's her. I was so excited about it. Anything, and then names are going to evade me. The guy who keeps moving houses.
I know, I confuse them a lot.
No, he's the one who keeps like squatting in all these different houses.
Yes, I know, because when I was reading the book, like I was listening to the audiobook actually, and then I was like, I would confuse like Jim Williams and then the other guy that was there. There was.
I really liked him.
Whatever his name was.
Yeah, with his like just the parties where people would just be like in and out all the time. Like that just felt very like, gave me like 20s Gatsby kind of vibes, where it's just like he's this like Savannah Gatsby kind of thing. He's just got these people flooding in and out of his doors. What else? I
actually really liked Danny Hansford, just like as like just how he was painted as a person. Like he felt very vivid, and in the movie too, like Jude Law plays him, and then like the movie ends like, actually like my favorite part of the movie is like the final image of Danny Hansford, and like Jude Law like has this perfectly like somewhat smiling face, and like it is like, it's not really a spoiler to say that he's like the one who was murdered, because that's like a real story. So
although it's not, they don't call him that in the movie, do they? Got a different name
than Danny Hansford. They call him something else.
Oh,
maybe they do.
He has a different name.
They might change it to protect the like to make it feel more fictionalized rather than that.
I prefer. I just like the way he was. I did like him sort of in the movie, but I liked him in the book. Well, not liked him. I mean, well, no.
I know, right?
It does go into like why he is the way he is a little bit.
Yeah.
When they're like driving and everything.
Yeah, and I mean, he's just like a complex person. Like you can tell he's got some problems that he should have gone to therapy for. But but it's very humanizing in the book. Yeah. And so, what do you think they could have done differently to adapt the book that would have made it work?
They either needed to shorten it or lengthen it, like not movie size.
Many series.
You needed to spend time in each person's vignette, as you said, like to get more of a feel for everyone, instead of it being like, Jim Williams. And then like it just be really ploddy.
Yeah, because I think it's like all the little stories add like color and flavor, and like, and it's kind of these smaller stories inside that larger narrative of like the murder trial, and like, so I think like, yeah, more like an anthology, or like
definitely.
Yeah,
it lost a lot of its humor as well, film, because
yeah,
there were so many points in the book where I just was just like howling out loud at something that he'd written, and then in the film there's just no humor at all. Well, there are bits of it, but not to the same degree, and I was like, it's such a shame that you lost all that humor and like the lightness as well as the murder. And
yes, yeah, and I think, yeah, there's like a lot of quirkiness, and I wonder if some Savannahans kind of find that offensive, or at the time that they did, because it's like, I saw one review call it like the gallery of the grotesque, you know, like it was supposed to be this kind of like circus show, like he was trying to find the weirdest stuff he could and put it in there. But I mean, that is what's interesting, like about the stories. It's like you want to present people with the larger than life figures, not
I wonder what it would have looked like if David Lynch had directed it. Just some sort of like Twin Peaks sort of, that might have worked. I don't know.
And so what did reading this book and watching the movie, what did that make you more curious to learn about when it came to Savannah as a place?
I mean, they were both useful in terms of immersing myself in it, in like the different settings, and obviously the cemetery, Bonaventure does play quite a big part in Wish Hunter. Yeah, I think they were both useful, and it just made me want to keep researching it and like, you know, really get a feel for it in all these different places, and certain quirks and things which, you know, maybe they were made up or maybe they aren't as prevalent as they used to be, but like all the little traditions and things like that were in the book, which I can't even remember if they were in the film as well.
Yeah, but, like well, I'm sure. So there's like the thing about drinking Madeira, like it's a great Savannah ritual, and like, and I was wondering too, because we have like a nod to Madeira in the book, like you put that in there. But yeah, I was wondering too if like the social customs are like, are they super outdated because it happened in like the 80s, right? Like that's like intense. And then like, you know, like the whole idea of parties with guest lists and things like that, and like if those are like super exaggerated, and you know, the Witch Hunter takes place in like modern times, so it's like, oh, is all that pretty much gone and done? Oh yeah, and it's like, do they drink Madeira wine still? Is that really like a Savannah thing like 40 years later? Or, you know, if it ever was, like you said, like the creative license might have been like bigger than we think. So it is hard to like, we have the certain picture of a place, and then you go there and then it's different from what you think it will be like.
It was both were useful in their own way, but I vastly preferred the book, and just like the descriptions and everything. Like it's when and then movie set has come to town, the movie people, and he's dropped the flag out of his window or whatever it is, so that he can't film, like that sort of humor. But I can't remember if that was in the film or not.
I know, I can't remember. I don't remember from that either. That's true. Like I love that. Like they're constantly like messing with people, and like it's really enjoyable. And yeah, like the book 2 of Wish Hunter, yes, it features like a movie set. And Georgia is such a big filming location, and so that'll be a lot of fun with that. But maybe some sort of nod to that, since I do feel bad that I had to cut like most of the Midnight in the Garden of Good and Evil references. Such a long title.
Such a mouthful.
But yeah, I had to cut the references that I found them very clever and funny. But it's because like the beta readers they're like, oh, they're like inside jokes and we don't really get them. But I thought they were great allusions to it. You know, like we have like, there's one reference to the Bird Girl statue. That's the very famous cover of the book. And they actually moved the sculpture from they moved the sculpture from like Bonaventure, I think it was in there, and then they moved it to a museum, probably because they don't want people to mess with it. I highly recommend the book to people who enjoy, if you enjoy nonfiction, you enjoy stuff that's very specific, very niche, like it's enjoyable to read, to have just like from a writing perspective. I feel like the style, and
that.
Yeah, it's fantastic. And then like I also feel like Witch Hunter, we have gotten like a lot of compliments about the setting and how immersive it feels. And so we're trying to recreate that effect. So yeah, it's a story that makes you want to travel and to visit Savannah. And I love Savannah, and I recommend it to everybody to, you know, read the book, go visit Savannah, go read Witch Hunter, and like just be
go read it in Savannah.
Yes, go read it in Savannah.
Read it.
That sounds so great. Yes, that would be awesome. So yeah, so thank you for joining us in our story garden.